right before your eyes. South Florida is shifting, the tides start to turn. If you don't know the math, you're gonna get burned. Yeah, this is the Miami Condo Exchange. Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope and the range. With Peter Zalewski, keeping it real, digging deep in the dirt of every single deal. From the buy-side pressure to the sell-side heat, the only podcast you need on the Miami street. Hey. Real numbers, real talk. The hyperbole stops here. This is the Miami Condo Exchange, y'all.
Happy Tuesday, Miami. This is the Miami Condo Exchange, a statistical look at what's going on in the Tri-County, South Florida market of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. What are we talking about today? We're talking about how the summer buying season unwind has begun. We have something called the South Florida Condo Association Financial Cliff Index. For short, we call it the South Florida Condo Cliff Index. What it does is it gauges, it measures real time what's going on week over week over week in the Tri-County, South Florida area. We don't look at closed sales like many. We are focused more so on what's going on week after week after week. Why? For buyers, for sellers, to get an idea, get a real-time perspective of what's going on in the market. And I can tell you, in looking at the data and updating the data today, what we found is that active listings are staying relatively firm, but pending sales are falling. Now, they could be falling because the sales are going through, or they could be falling because contracts are falling out. Whatever the case may be, the index is down in South Florida. The index is down in Miami-Dade County. The index is down in Broward County. The index is down in Palm Beach County, both for the overall market as well as the vintage condo market, which is those condos that are at least 30 years old or older. So we're going to get into all that today on the Miami Condo Exchange. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. Every weekday at 4 o'clock, I go live and I talk condos. If you're interested in the condo market, you have an opportunity to tune in and watch it live while we talk about the latest and the greatest trends that are occurring in the South Florida condo market. Miami Condo Exchange runs every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. What is it? Well, it's a perspective statistically what's going on in the marketplace. We look at the condo market in the South Florida area. We look at it like a large trading pit, a trading floor for condominiums. Right now, if anybody were to go ahead and buy a stock, buy crypto, buy anything like that, you're probably going to do it through your through an app, whether it be on your computer or be on your phone. Back in the day, they used to trade commodities. They used to trade stocks. They would do it in a pit. People would be dressed up. They would have a jacket on. They'd have a number. They'd get in a pit. They were either selling hands out or buying hands in, and that's the way the game worked before it all caught up to the app feature, if you will. But we still look at the condo market as if this is a large trading pit, a trading floor, especially if you're east of Interstate 95. And if you're going to play that game, you need to have real-time of information, and that's what we are collecting here at the Miami Condo Investing Club. If you're somebody who's interested in getting real-time data, you don't necessarily want to sugarcoat it. You want the straight data so you can take that data, go out there and do whatever it is you want to do. If you don't want to have to listen to the sell-side brokers talk about how 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida and we're the gateway of Latin America and how the trees grow to the moon, maybe consider joining the Miami Condo Investing Club, miamicondo.club. As a club member, what you'll get is you'll get access to all of these videos. You're watching this video live, therefore you're going to be able to see everything. However, once the video's done and we make it available on demand, we're going to put up a paywall at a certain part, and as a result of that paywall, only club members will be able to access it at their convenience. In addition to that, we do a monthly meeting on the second Wednesday of every month. I do a meeting where I tell you where are we, where were we, and where are we going forward. I came out with my summer buying season base case last week. We did it on the, I think it was the 13th of May, and I laid out what I anticipated. And if you want a hint, what it is you're probably going to see a sell-off now. As we get to in and around the halfway point, you're probably going to start to see that inventory start to grow and grow and grow. Why? Bunch of changes coming, including Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae is changing the way that financing is made available for condominiums. Now, what's interesting about what Fannie Mae is doing, Typically, what will happen is there's a nationwide standard. Let's say it's gasoline. Well, if you take a look at what the standards are throughout the United States, and I'm not a gas expert, but generally speaking, it's about the same, except for California because they have smog issues, they have other issues. California requires a little bit different refining of its gasoline from what I am to understand. And as a result of that, it costs more. But California can do it over and above. But what's happening now with Fannie Mae and some of the changes that are beginning, they're kicking in August. They're going to be following suit in January. Fannie Mae is changing the standards nationwide to the Florida way, the Florida standard. So the rest of the country is going to have to adopt basically what's necessary in Florida. Remember, we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of the Surfside condo collapse. That's when nearly 100 people died. A $1 billion settlement was paid out to families of victims. When that tower went down right there on the Barrier Island, Miami-Dade County, about 67 Terrace, it came down. It changed everything in the condo market, much like back in August 1992 when Hurricane Andrew came blowing through, hit South Dade, and changed and created building codes in the state of Florida because of hurricane. So it's a big moment in the condo market in South Florida. And if you were on the buy side, it's increasingly favoring your way. So basically, you've got tailwinds. And if you are a seller, you're facing some serious headwinds as we go forward. Why? Because mortgage rates are up. Yeah, I don't know if you've taken a look at it, but mortgage rates 6.5 and climbing. Many industry watchers say interest rates need to be somewhere with a 4 handle. Where are they right now? Well, they got a 6 handle, and they're likely to go to a 7 handle because of what's going on in the local economy, what's going on with the deficit for the U.S. government, as well as what's going on with the global economy, especially related to the Iranian war. The war with Iran, basically fuel costs are through the roof, and as a result of that, it's having all kinds of repercussions in the housing market. Added to that, if you're in a condo, what you're faced with all kinds of new standards that have been put in place because of Surfside. What are these new standards? A lot of them have to do with transparency. One aspect of transparency is make the information available. The condo board's got to make it available to unit owners. They got to make it available to prospective buyers. Who they don't make it available to is the general public who's out there maybe trying to figure out which condo to go into. We got a way to sort of deal with that. We are launching a condo ratings agency where we will be evaluating, analyzing the economic stability, the viability, the predictability of condo associations in the state of Florida. Anybody's wondering, somewhere in the ballpark of about 29,000 condo associations, somewhere in the vicinity of 1.6 million units. If you drill down to South Florida, you're going to find about 13,000 associations with about 760,000 units in Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. And as part of our due diligence and part of our work on the condo ratings agency, which should go live for everybody to consume in November. By the way, club members will be given access to part of the database for the condo rating agency. But what's kind of interesting is we've been hearing this story out there about the sell side brokers. They're all talking about how, well, don't worry about Surfside. Don't worry about these older condos. They're a small sliver. They don't represent a big portion of the overall condo market. So what we did is we ran the numbers. We pulled them from the state of Florida. We ran the numbers. We found that 67% of all condos that exist in the Tri-County South Florida area are going to be at least 30 years old or older. And when they're 30 years old or older, we call them vintage. What's a vintage condo? Well, now under the inspection requirements that came as a result of Surfside, every 10 years, condo associations got to have a review. Got to bring in a licensed architect, licensed engineer, check it all out, come up with an analysis of the key components, then turn over the shelf life, let's say, of all the different components to the numbers people. Numbers people come up with a dollar amount based on what the experts say. They then produce a report. They give it to the condo board. And the condo board, as of 2026, they need to adopt it. They need to fund it, whether it be through a special assessment and or by getting out a loan, increasingly by private money. Interest rates 9, 10, 11% for some of these loans in order to do the necessary work. So as a result of that, cost of condo living is going up, and it's becoming cost prohibitive for a lot of people. And what has that led to? That's led to many people who've been in their condo for quite some time. They have some equity. They are heading for the exits. We saw it in the winter buying season, which goes from November through April. It just concluded. We just ran the numbers. What we're seeing are people are leaving. Sales were up. Why? Prices are coming down. They're coming down on the median price per square foot basis across the board in the Tri-County area. And that kind of leads us to where we are today. We are now in the summer buying season. This is a period of time where May is probably one of those crucial times. By the time we get to June and July, we're running into the FIFA World Cup. A lot of people are going to be coming to town. So they say, when they're here, are they really going to go looking for a condo, especially at today's pricings? If they don't, a lot of sellers who are just suffocating by all the costs associated with condos, they could be in some trouble. Let's take it forward to August. We get to August. What do you got? You got vacation time. Nobody wants to be in South Florida during August. Why? Humidity is up. The hurricane warnings are rocking and rolling, tropical storms, all that type of stuff. So a lot of people tend to go on vacation. They go to the Hamptons. They go to Asheville, North Carolina for the mountains, western North Carolina. They're in Canada. They're in Europe. They're everywhere but here. So that creates a little bit of a vacuum, if you will, for any seller wanting to get out. So traditionally, by the time you get to Labor Day in and around the first weekend of September, we start to build up again, leading into the winter buying season, which begins in November and goes through April. Unfortunately, this year, if you're a seller, you're up against the midterm elections, which are going to be contentious. Who's going to step in and buy something unless it's extremely cheap? Why would you step in and buy something if you don't know how Washington and Congress is going to shake out when that election is held in November? So this is probably going to be a very challenging time for the sellers, and it's probably going to be a very advantageous time for the buyers. That's what we call going in for the summer, and we're looking at this South Florida Condo Cliff Index today, and it is suggesting we are dead on once again. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead, I want to pull up some charts. We're going to walk you through what's going on in the marketplace, and then after that, we will get into actual data, but we're going to be showing you line charts to be able to get a sense. We'll take a look at what's happening on the index. We'll also take a look at what's going on with pricing. We added pricing to what we're collecting just recently. And you know what's going on with pricing? Asking prices and the average pending sales price, they're both coming down. Why are they coming down? It's too expensive to live in one of these condos. There's too many repercussions. These are not the days of people queuing up. They're in 2021, 2022, 2023, when you could work from home, when you didn't have to wear a mask in Florida, even though many other states were doing it. And if you went to Miami Beach, you could twerk on a police car. These are not those days. These are the days where people who bought during 2021, 2022, 2023, maybe they got called back to the office. Maybe they're leaving town. Maybe there's some of the 67,000 fewer residents in the Tri-County area, according to Census Bureau data, between July of 2024 and July of 2025. You're going to say, Peter, but this is May of 2026. What good is that data? Well, that's the most recent available for census. So we got a contracting resident population. We have high mortgage rates, and we also have the cost of condo living, which is forcing people to head for the exits, and our index is tracking it. It was tracking it when we called and predicted that you were probably going to see a real bump in increase in sales. And what happened when the final data was released, the Q1 data? It showed you that sales had actually gone up. How do we know that? Well, we have this index, these indices, and what they do is they tell you real time. Think of it the way they think on Wall Street. So if you have unemployment data, that would be the equivalent of closed sales data. It's going to tell you where you were in the past. And what do you have to tell you about the future? You got the Dow Jones, you got the NASDAQ Composite, you got the S&P 500, you got the Russell. They're all giving you anticipation and expectation about the future. That's why we created the index, so we can give you real time as to what's going on. We can also help you to spot those markets that are in play and those markets where if you're a seller, you got a better chance of understanding it. The way we do the index is we have South Florida overall, then we have Miami-Dade County, we have Broward County, we have Palm Beach County. We then carve it out and we repeat it and we look at vintage, 30 years old or older. In addition to that, we got 19 other markets, everywhere from Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, Key Biscayne, Greater Downtown Miami, Miami's Upper East Side, North Bay Village, Hollywood, Hallandale, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, Delray Beach, and Boynton Beach, and Palm Beach Island, and West Palm. We're tracking all of it overall, and then we'll turn around and we'll track it for the vintage. So we got a real good sense of what's going on in the marketplace. I will tell you, worst condo market in all the land is going to be Fisher Island. Fisher Island, a lot of places for sale. Nobody's buying. Nobody's buying. The index is virtually nil. What's the best market in all the land? Miami's Little Havana. People getting priced out of Greater Downtown Miami. What are they doing? They're heading on the other side of Interstate 95, and they're picking up condos there. So Little Havana is in. Fisher Island is out. So let's go ahead. We're going to share the screen. I'll tell you, and I'll remind you, once again, you're watching this live. I'm going to be able to share everything with you. However, once this podcast is over, it will be edited. It will be made available on demand, and this part going forward is not going to be available unless you're a club member. To get information, go to miamicondo.club. Let's go ahead, and we will pull up our screen to share with you.